This episode is brought to you by Triggered 22 LLC, a veteran-owned apparel company. By purchasing a t-shirt, hat, or hoodie from Triggered 22, you're not only supporting a small business, but you're bringing awareness to veteran PTSD and suicide. Please help save the lives of those who fought for our freedoms. Visit triggered22.com now and place your order. Let's help those suffering from invisible wounds.
I think we talked about it in my other podcast too, with people used to always say to me, you're strong for a girl.
Yes.
And that used to always upset me because there was no need to add the for a girl.
Welcome to the American Grown Podcast, hosted by Austin Sullivan. The American Grown Podcast will focus on people from different walks of life and their journey to where they are now. Now, turn up your volume and settle in for a great episode.
Hi, I'm Austin Sullivan. This is the American Grown Podcast, recorded inside the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Welcome back, Jessica Maloy, to the American Grown Podcast, episode 51.
Thank you.
For the new listeners, Jessica was first on the podcast back in episode 29 earlier this year.
Yep.
During that episode, we spoke mainly about how you started Palmyra Greenhouse and also your powerlifting career.
Correct.
Today, you've come back on the podcast to discuss your new book, Rosie and Friends, Adventures of a Flower Truck, which is a phenomenal book. My wife and I are proud owners of a copy.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to personally thank you for letting me MC the event. It was something totally new for me. Never did that before. The closest thing I could compare it to was calling bingo. Yeah, which if you know bingo players, they can be pretty cutthroat.
Oh
my gosh, yeah. Oh yeah, if you get the numbers and letters wrong, they'll yell at you and scream.
Or if you're like too fast or not
Yes,
fast enough.
correct. It's the tempo, the speed of it. So your book launch party was much more relaxed in that aspect.
Good. Okay,
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about the old lady's gonna mace me or hit me with their purses at the end of the night. But no, I really appreciate it, and
I appreciate you coming out. I know I asked you and I was like, I'm not sure if he's going to want to do this.
Yeah, I talked to Courtney that night. You messaged me on Facebook, and I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, if you do it, like, there's no downside.
Right.
It's a learning experience for sure. First time doing it, and it just gets the name out there.
Exactly.
And it was like I said, a lot of fun. Definitely a little nerve-wracking, but we got through it together. I think we did a great job.
The microphone didn't work real well for us.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about that. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this should be easy. Just pick it up and start talking. Because, like, here for the podcast, everything I have set, and fine-tuned. But, of course, these are different than the mics that were there. I was like, oh. So that's on me, though. For next time, for next time, I got to do some research and figure it out. But let's start off from the beginning. Again, for those new listeners, give a refresher of your life, from young up until where we're at right now. Like just quick refresher.
Okay.
Or take an hour, however long you want to take.
I moved to the area when I was 10. Grew up then in Hershey. Met my husband in high school. So we're high school sweethearts. Got married a couple years later. We have a son. We live in Palmyra now. And in 2020, during COVID, we were bored and we built a greenhouse in our backyard. So that kind of started this whole whirlwind of a business, which was never really going to be a business. It was a hobby. So now I have a flower truck and a book. So it was all just, it's been a wild ride for sure.
And it escalated pretty quickly, I would say, didn't it?
Yeah.
And shout out to Patrick, who's actually here in the studio today, but he didn't want to be on the mic. We won't hold it against him. And then also Alex, your son, who was at the book launch party. So, it was never supposed to be what it is.
Right.
It was a hobby. It was something for fun during COVID, something to pass the time. How did you get from a hobby to, as far as I knew, this is your full-time job?
It is now.
Yeah.
As of 2 weeks ago, I quit my quote-unquote real job to do this full-time. Honestly, social media was a huge help in all of this because the greenhouse is super cute and I decorated it for Christmas and put photos online, and then people wanted to use it for Christmas pictures. And that kind of escalated into this whole thing along with selling the flowers that I ended up growing in the greenhouse, was all done via social media. So yeah, if it wasn't for social media, I definitely wouldn't be where I am. And then of course it grew from there. You know, we got the website and got the truck. So yeah, it's just, I mean, you said it escalated quickly. It really did. Like I said, that was 2020. It didn't turn into a business till like January of 21. And now we're in 23 and I'm doing it full time. So yeah.
So what was that like then, taking this kind of like final leap of faith, going from, you know, a secure traditional 9 to 5 or whatever hours you might have had, to throwing caution to the wind and like, let's do this? What was
Scary.
that like? Yeah.
I did go part-time in May. I mean, luckily my husband's very supportive. Shout out to Patrick. So
Shout out to Patrick.
Yeah. So he definitely encouraged me. You know, we talked about it. He has, you know, a good job and the health insurance, which obviously is very important.
Perfect.
When you have a family. In May, I kind of just tested the waters a bit. And I was amazed at still how busy I was, even though I was only working 3 days a week for 7 hours a day instead of 5 hours, or 5 days a week. So yeah, I was like, I still need more time. I mean, and you had mentioned about, you know, powerlifting and all that. So we still go to the gym, try to do that 5 days a week. So between eating, sleeping, working, and then doing all this, writing the book, and now trying to also market the book, I just did not have enough time to do all that. So we took the leap, and the end of September was my last day at my real job. Yeah.
So
this is my real job now.
This is it, right? Rosie and friends for sure, and you know, Palmyra Greenhouse. But what were coworkers, friends, and family? Were they all real supportive? Are there any doubters you think out there that maybe you're hating a little bit because you're chasing your dream, really?
I don't think there were any doubt. Anybody who knew me, I don't think they doubted me. I think I'm the biggest skeptic of it, you know, of myself. Have to learn to give myself more credit, I think. But yeah, everyone that I talked to said, go for it. You know, like I said, my husband was definitely a big, you know, I think my son probably was the most, you know, when I told him that, you know, my next week's going to be my last week, he was like, does he know? And I said, who's he? He's like, your boss. I'm like, yes, my boss knows. So yeah, I think he was more shocked and skeptic of it than anybody.
Yeah.
That's because he's 21.
Well, there you go. Right. And it's interesting you say that, because sometimes I feel with the podcast here, almost like you said, not giving enough credit to yourself for what you've built or created, or, you know, the platform or the business. And I feel like it's kind of like a common thing for entrepreneurs. You know, it's that not believing maybe in yourself, or not giving yourself enough credit, and almost like you doubt, you know?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. I said, yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. I don't know how to explain it, but yet it's like, you know, look, I mean, you have the book, hard copy right here. There'll be pictures on American Grown Podcast, Facebook and Instagram, you know, and podcast. I'm up to, you know, episode 51. And it's just, I feel like if anyone's out there on the fence listening, go all in on your side hustle, go all in on yourself, because you can't lose if you bet on yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to also hit on, you had mentioned just a bit ago about community and social media and how that's really helped launch what you're doing. Is there anyone there you wanted to shout out in particular, or how have you been able to use those platforms like Facebook and Instagram to promote and grow what you're doing?
It's interesting. Well, I mean, the truck's out there, you know, when I do a lot of events. So we do 3 events a week around.
Okay.
And so a lot of people just see Rosie out in the community. We just did the Halloween parade on Wednesday. What day is it? Wednesday we did it.
Yeah.
So we were in the Halloween parade in Hershey. And you know, it's just interesting when you drive by, oh, there's Rosie, you know. So
right.
She's definitely out there, and then obviously posting a lot. At this point, I think I need to hire someone to help me with my social media. You know, the whole Reels thing, you know, they say that gets a lot more views, especially on Instagram. I do what I can, and I do what I know, but I'm not good at the Reels. I'm not even good at Canva. Like, apparently that's like super easy, and I still haven't even gotten that. So Yeah, I think to even get more. But, they say that you're supposed to post like at least once a day, no more than twice a day.
Right.
So I try to take all that into consideration, while thinking of things to post about and taking certain pictures, obviously, and certain lighting and all that stuff. I'm learning.
It's a lot. It is like a full-time job. Yes. You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Social media is, but yet it's so critical. And like you said, if you can execute on the reels, like a good a person that we know, Goldie Links with Allison.
Oh, she's great at it.
She's great. And I feel like, I'm not putting her down, but I feel like she just goes with it. Like,
oh, yeah.
It doesn't have to be polished. And she's just like, phone, shoot the video, and upload it.
Yeah. And she doesn't laugh at herself.
Yeah.
Like, I would laugh at myself trying to do all those like voiceovers.
Being funny
and
like
stuff.
that? Yeah. Oh, I couldn't do it.
No.
But shout out to her for putting out some great content. And I feel like sometimes for me, or creatives in general, entrepreneurs in general, you might get caught up a little bit in like, it has to be polished, or like, I'll think about a post so many times,
right.
Or is it spelled right? I always look at spelling because I'm not a good speller. And sometimes it's just like, just pull the trigger and post it,
Exactly.
And let the chips fall where they may. So now let's dive into the book launch party. It was held at the Hershey History Center, or I saw it's called Hershey Historical Society, located right behind Tanger Outlets and just down from Trogs. So how did you pick that place as your venue, and what were your thoughts? Walk us through that.
I had been to one or two parties there, and I knew they had the back area where we could use the fire pit, and I knew it was going to be possibly on the chillier side, being that it's October. But honestly, you could bring your own food and you could bring your own alcohol, and so that was a huge plus.
Yeah.
Because when you go to places that you have to cater, or that they supply the alcohol, it's just a lot more expensive. So that was a huge selling point, to be honest. But also, they just opened it up and said, here, take it for how many hours you need it. We did the setup, and they were just really chilled to work with. Not so high maintenance. So, yeah.
It was a very nice location. That was the first time I was ever there. I've never been there before. I didn't even know that place existed.
Yeah, it's nice.
Like I've been to, what is it, Red Robin, like I said, Tanger Outlets, or Trogs. I mean, who hasn't had a couple drinks at Trogs and, maybe called for an Uber or whatnot to get home? But it was nice. It was really nice. Like you said, how they have the patio, fire pit, indoor, outdoor, it was clean. Just a really nice, for the listeners and for the people that weren't there, very nice setup. Very, very professionally done. You had, I'll call them mini Rosies, or, on each of the table with sunflowers. And sunflowers, was that the first thing you started growing, I think? If I remember back to episode 29, wasn't it sunflowers?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I remember, squirrels or chipmunks? I think squirrels. Yeah. So the squirrels were eating the sunflowers, right?
Eating my seeds.
Eating the seeds.
Yeah.
And that's what started.
This
This
whole
whole thing.
Yeah.
A bunch of squirrels.
So there was kind of that, mentality going into picking the sunflower as my theme for, obviously Rosie was the theme too, but I had 600 sunflowers that I wanted to work with for my event. We kind of had sunflowers everywhere.
600.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
But I loved it because it adds that pop of color. What was involved, right, to plan a book launch party?
I love party planning. I love themes. From when Alex was small, you give me a theme and I run with it. So I found it fun. It might have been stressful to other people around. Shout out to Patrick, because it was. I go all out. I mean, I shouldn't have done what I did necessarily. I had the music there and I had the character lady there, and like all that stuff wasn't necessary. But I wanted it to be nice. I wanted people to have fun. I didn't want them just to sit around and be bored. So the music was there. But anyway, but we were gonna have it catered also, just finger foods. But my mom really, really likes to make food in bulk. So when I told her that I was thinking about hiring somebody, I think she almost felt offended that I didn't ask her to make the food. So I wanted to use a lot of my other small business people that I've worked with throughout this time. So the charcuterie lady, I definitely, needed her and wanted her part of it. And then outside of that, I was like, fine, Mom, you can help with the rest of the food. So we did, the sunflower cupcakes, and then she did the food that she enjoys making.
Wait. Well, the food was phenomenal. So shout out to your mom, but the cupcakes,
My mom and I did those.
All those cupcakes.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a lot. I don't know why I thought you had a bakery do them, and they were really good.
Yeah. My mom used to do like wedding cakes and stuff on the side as her like kind of side hustle for a bit. And so she, yes. So we did the cupcakes. We got together and did those for a day. Yeah.
They were delicious. Yeah, I had them at the end. And like I said, very well done.
We did way too many. Like I said, she really loves to make food in bulk. And so we had way too many.
Yeah. It did seem like a lot, but they were good. And, who doesn't like a cupcake?
Right. Yeah.
So, it was perfect. I want to shout out some people that I thought did a phenomenal job. And you had shouted them out at the event. Michael and Jacob, they were the two young men from LVC that were the musical accompaniment. Great guys. I mean, they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And
what's interesting is I had seen Jacob with another guy at another event, and so I contacted them. The other guy, Aaron, I think was his name, couldn't make it, and so he said, "Well, we have another." Long story short, Michael and my son went to school together. They were in band together. So when he walked in, like he was at Alex's graduation party, we were like, "Hey," yeah. So it was like one of those small worlds, yeah. So
world.
he, and then he was eating the food, and he's like, "I remember these from Alex's graduation party."
Oh my gosh. He's probably like, "Oh, I was hoping I'd get these again."
Yeah.
That's funny.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And, all by happenstance,
Exactly.
Also, I wanted to shout out, there were two photographers that I saw. There might have been a third, but he might have been for a paper because he kind of hit and ran. But Michael, I think it's Coat, Choat. Okay. Shout out to Michael Coat. And I'm sorry, bud, if you're listening.
He does listen. He came up to you and said that he listens
did. You're actually right.
Yeah.
So, Michael, I apologize. I know you do phenomenal food photography, and you work with Snitz Creek and Rotunda Brewing Company there. So you do nice work, and I follow you along on Instagram. But the other one then also was Ariana Sanchez Long. Now, she was there taking photos as well, and just real nice people. Came up. Do you want a photo? How did you get a hold of them?
Social media.
Power of social media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I put a post out and said, "Hey, I'm looking for photographers." And I hated to be like cheap, but once people contacted me, I was like, "Hey, I don't really have, a huge budget for this." And they both said, "I don't need anything. Well, I'll do
Phenomenal.
it for you." Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was great that they took time out of their day, to do that.
Yeah.
Edit them and get back. They both got back to me within like a day and a half with their photos.
That's
it was
impressive.
great. Yeah, it was
that's
great.
real quick turnaround. And sometimes too, it's not the money, but it's the exposure, right? Exactly. It's getting the word out there. It's all about community, like you said, and growing it. So that's really cool. Shout out to both of them for coming out. Now, I also wanted to, big shout out to Kelly from Caricatures by Kelly.
I can never say that word.
Caricatures, was I right? I'm pretty close, right? What they do on the beach, on the boardwalk, and you pay like $50 and they, do couples drawings. But what a character she is.
Yeah.
Right?
She
Like
was
in the best
fun.
in the best way. Yeah, super fun, amazing lady. How did you, I'm guessing you're going to say social media.
Honestly, it was 2 days before the event. She had posted it on this group that I'm in, like small business group. And she was like, "Hey, if anyone ever needs something like this, I do."
Yeah.
And I was like, do I send her a message? And she happened to be free. And I was like, "Come on over."
Yeah.
But I asked, "How many can you do in an hour? What do you think?" And she was really fast. I mean, it worked
and
out
good
well.
and really good. I mean, I was impressed because while I was up talking, I saw her looking at me, and I'm like, "Well, I'm already married, so what's going on here?" Like, what? But obviously, she was sketching me from across the room. So I have the sketch here. It's above the mini fridge, and it's pretty spot on. Now, of course, once I went over and talked to her, she's like, "Oh, your cheeks are a little more fuller, so I'd make you look fuller." I'm thinking, no, it's great what you did. Don't add more weight. Take it off, if anything. And what I thought was really neat with her also, it didn't, like you said, didn't cost anything for the people there. And then Courtney and my daughter had left, Parker, but she said, "If you have a picture, I can sketch from a picture." I said, "Well, sure." So I gave her a picture. And wouldn't you know, I mean, just spot on for a caricature.
Oh, so she added them in? I didn't even see your thing.
So she did two separate ones for
gotcha.
me. Yeah. But based off of the photo, I mean, she was spot on. And it was a photo taken just a couple days ago. So I was like, it was really neat. And I hope to get her on the podcast one day because she was telling me all kinds of stories. And but besides the point, so shout out to Kelly. And also, like I mentioned, Allison from Goldie Links. She stopped by with her family. So, shout out to everyone that came out. I think it was a lot of fun. Now at the launch party, you were, of course, selling the books. and inside you were autographing them. You do your family's name, your children's name, but you signed it, "Be Rosie Strong." So what does that quote mean to you?
I think in the book, Rosie, she starts out with being lonely and not loved in a garage, and basically two people who are my husband and I find her and take her home. So the beginning of it's kind of the true story. Put her on a flatbed truck and brought her home. So going from the sad unloved type of thing into finding her passion and finding her glory through making her into a flower truck, I think has a lot to do with that. Just keep going. Even though you might be depressed or sad or lonely, it just keep going like Rosie did. And then obviously then there's a part in here about I think we talked about it in my other podcast too, with people used to always say to me, "You're strong for a girl."
Yes.
And that used to always upset me because there was no need to add the for a girl.
They should say
can
you're
be
you're strong. Yeah.
And so I actually put that in here at one point. Rosie and her friends, it's called Rosie and Friends. So her and her friend that she met in her new home, Eddie, are out on a ride, and they find this other car stuck in the mud. And Eddie tries to pull out this new car, and he can't. And Rosie says, "Well, I can, step aside. I'll do it." And he's like, "No, I don't think you can. So let's get a tow truck." And she said, "No, I'm going to try." And obviously she does. And he's like, "Wow, well, you're really strong for a girl." So I had to kind of put that in there as a little tribute to my experiences in life, as far as, you don't have to, you can just be strong, whether you're a girl or a boy. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That doesn't need to be said. So it was interesting because the publisher that I used, she was like, "I don't think we should put that in there." And I said, "No, that means a lot to me, that phrase, because."
And she thought she didn't think it was a good idea to put it in? Why? No. Because I feel like not for just, like you said, for females or young girls, but across the board, right. You want to be strong as an individual, and to not share that story, it's like.
Well, she thought it was, how did she put it when I first brought it up to her? And she said she thought it came across as, this wasn't the right word, but like bratty. Like she just didn't think that it needed to be said. And so after I explained to her the story behind it, she was like, "Oh, okay, I understand." But then the way that she kind of did soften it a little bit in the story, it wasn't quite as how I had it the first time.
Yeah. Okay. But no, I feel like that's a key theme for the story and right. for, like you said, for your life experience.
Right.
Yeah. So now, who inspired you to write, the children's book?
I feel like Rosie just brings joy. I found that, even just before we had Rosie and I just did flowers, flowers just make people happy. You can't get mad at flowers. And when people come to the truck, not only is Rosie cute, so people always comment about, that, and just driving down the street, people honking and waving and smiling because she's just cute. But then you add the flowers to it, and it's just happiness all around. And so that's what I wanted to write about, was just the joy behind the flowers, which is where she finds her purpose through bringing joy to others with the flowers. So that was like the idea behind why I wanted to write the book. But then, after coming up with the initial idea, wanting to then bring a lot of, the family in. So the two other characters that are in the book, her quote unquote friends, Eddie, who is a white convertible in the story, already has the home that she then goes to. He is named after my father-in-law. And then the car that they find stuck in the mud that she pulls out, his name is Debo, and that is named after my dad, that was his nickname forever. It's actually on his gravestone, Debo,
oh, wow. Yeah.
But his name is Gary. So both of those gentlemen have passed, my father-in-law, Ed, and my dad, Gary. So I wanted to put them in there for sure.
Pay tribute.
Pay tribute, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You do include a lot of special guests. I mean, you're in it, Patrick, your family. How have those guests impacted you in real life?
so Eddie and Debo are the only named characters in it. But then I really wanted to put drawings of, so when we went to the illustrator, I made sure to give them a picture of my mother-in-law, Rose, my mom, Corrine, and then our son, Alex, to have them in there at some point, not anything in particular, just a picture of them. If you just scroll through the book, you probably wouldn't know it was them. Now in the back of the book, it does show like side by side, and I guess you'd be like, oh yeah, it kind of looks like them. Yeah, so they I definitely, because it's more of cars and vehicles, and those were the things that talk. The other people, didn't have a talking part in the story. But this is supposed to be a series, so we're thinking about doing at least 2 more books, and so who knows if there'll be talking vehicles at some point, maybe a wagon or I don't know, something in the future.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. So a 3-part series for Rosie and Friends. That's going to be interesting.
We'll see.
Well, we'll have to have you back on then, for sure. And maybe we'll have something, some champagne on the 3rd book or something. We'll have to have something.
I'm game. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right.
High noon. Yeah. We're
High noon. Right. We'll drink something. So, let's dive into the book if you could. And I know you have been, but just a brief summary from front to back. I know there's some activity pages, just kind of an overview of the book itself.
Yeah. So the story, like I said, is Rosie lonely, and then she's found by these 2 people, and they take her on a truck and put her to a new, clean, bright home where she finds these friends. So that's basically the story. There's a parade, in there, which, like I said, we just did a parade, which is one of my favorite things to do because it's bringing the community in. And that's what I love about my job. So then, at the end, it's basically open-ended saying, we're going to have more adventures, with them in the garage, tired and sleepy type of thing. But then, yes, it goes through some activities for the kids to do, finding the people that we have, the photos kind of going back. There are words, how do I say it? There are words that are...
how do I say?
Yeah,
highlighted,
say
like wee,
right.
and,
Ha ha ha, and beep,
swish
beep.
swish.
Yeah, and it's so one of the activities is like to go back through and find those and say them out loud and stuff like that. So it kind of gets them a little more interactive. And then one activity. So my dad, it's interesting. He passed when he was 57, and my entire life I never ever saw him without a mustache. He had a mustache my whole life. And it was it's called a Fu Manchu. And so I had to be sure to add that to his
character, his illustration. Yeah.
So that's one of the, the little activities in here too, is talking about what a Fu Manchu is and to find it on him and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a few activity pages, and then obviously the author family and,
which I love that. And
my dogs.
Yeah, I was going to say Winnie and
Maisie.
Maisie, yeah. I love that because then it shows for the children or anybody reading the book, it's like this is who the characters are based on, even though they might not talk or have much of a role, but yet they're still crucial to the story. I mean, you got Alex, everyone's in here, your mom, even the puppy dogs. And the illustrations are, this is a very well illustrated, written book. It is like, before the show I was counting, I think it's like 76, almost 78 pages.
Yeah, it was interesting because when I went to the antique car show to sell this, that was like a big goal of ours to get it done in time to get to the Hershey Antique Car Show, which is like the biggest car show in the United States or something. And so one person was like, "Oh, that's way too long for my kids," and I was like, "No, not the whole thing. It's not the story."
Oh yeah, right.
There's definitely the back with the activity pages. There's a lot of pages, but it's not all story. And even if you go through, the story's only on one side of the page.
Correct, right. There's some beautiful illustrations, which again keeps the the children's attention. Like I said, I know when we read it to Parker, she was for the first. Now she's just over a year old, right. But like the illustration, she was looking and I was making the sounds as we went. I think we got to about page 9 and then I kind of lost her, but we do love reading, and I think, and hopefully more people do read to their kids. It's a great learning tool, and I think more people should. The next question I wanted to dive in and see where it takes us. Being a first-time author, what was the process like writing Rosie and Friends Adventures of a Flower Truck?
It was definitely a learning experience for sure. I had no idea what went into writing a book. Again, I kind of woke up with this idea, and so I found a publisher who was local, who does other children's books. She does her own, and then she also has published for other authors. She was a huge help. I had no idea if this story would even work. And so she, as soon as I gave it to her, she was like, oh yeah, that's great. And then she said, well, I think it should be for ages 4 to 7. Again, I didn't know that. I didn't know like what age to kind of market it to. Her books are for older. And then obviously there's like the little age, but she thought this would be good for like the beginning readers type of thing. So when you say it's for 4 to 7, it's because the words are enough for them to be able to kind of comprehend. Yeah. But you can, like read it to kids who can't read yet. So it really, I would say starting at like 1 all the way up to probably 8 or 9.
I'd say up to 80. I mean, you can, you know what I mean? Yeah. Right. If you enjoy a good book, well illustrated, and it's an easy read, and it's enjoyable, but continue.
Yeah. And I didn't know, like, does it have to rhyme? Like what, all those different things. I was like, at what point, do you do all that? So again, she was very helpful. And then she did all the work as far as finding the illustrator, finding the editor, all of those things that are behind the scenes that I just had no idea. It is a long process. I mean, it was probably 6 months of me writing, going back and forth with her, giving her ideas and thoughts, that shouldn't be in there. There was something that my dad used to always, everybody was cuz. C-U-Z, cuz. Everybody was cuz. Yeah. And I put that in here at first. And, where he would call, and she was like, that doesn't make sense. Kids aren't going to understand that because kids don't know slang or, like, So we took that out. But in my head, that was part of my dad. And so I wanted that. But, I understand where she was coming from because, kids at that age don't get that. So things like that, so she was very... Even as far as like the illustrations, we had to go back and forth between, well, should this be here or should this be bigger? The first illustration of Rosie that's on the front cover, the flowers were just like a little bit of flowers. And so she was like, I think they should be overflowing. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But things, because she's used to that and knows
what to look for.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
which I love the flowers overflowing and you can see like, looks like dust kicking up. It gives motion to the cover. It's a beautiful illustration. And real quick, it's funny you mentioned cuz, because I have a cousin that we always C-U-Z. We always say cuz, it's like all the time. So shout out to my cuz up north. And he's a brewer at Sam Adams. So with the illustrations, like you were able to give some feedback. Like, Rosie has these beautiful blue eyes and these eyelashes. Like, how did that work? Did they just sketch and say, what do you think? Or were you, okay. How'd that work?
Well, the first sketch that they gave us, I actually have a screenshot on my phone. It was on my birthday. And I was so excited because she's like, we're getting it. And she sent it to me. And I was like, oh my Lord. Like, I almost started crying. It was awful. It was awful. I'm a terrible drawer. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I could do better than this. Like, so I showed it to my mom, my mom is artistic, and I kind of wanted her to maybe be involved. And my mother-in-law also is artistic.
Okay.
But the publisher thought that would be a bad idea. It's just a lot goes into this stuff, and it all has to be the same from page to page, and it's just hard for people maybe who don't know, all the ins and outs. Yeah. So I went back to her, and that was the only time I was like, I hate it.
Yeah.
Like, I used the word hate, and I don't normally use that word.
So it was bad.
Oh, it was bad. Like, the lines weren't straight. The bumper, oh my gosh, it looked like a 4-year-old did it. It was so bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I see it after the recording? Okay, I gotta see it. So now, is that the same illustrator? Or like, when you said I hate it, what was her response?
So we went, she was like, well, I think they could do better. And I was like,
I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. So we went with an actual company. They, so it wasn't just one person. So it was and I don't know exactly how they work. I think it was like, we dealt with one person who was like the project manager. And I think they had a team of people.
Okay.
And so I think they just changed like the person that was like the head leader of that. I don't know exactly how it worked, but we went back and we're like, hey, this is, so my mom, I said, Mom, can you, so she on a piece of paper just sketched, because it didn't even have like eyelashes. There was no mat. Like it was really, really bad. And so my mom kind of gave an idea, and then we sent it to them and said, this is what we're looking for.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean,
it was much better the second time around.
Oh, good.
We still had to tweak it. And even when we, got the like all of the illustrations, we found, well, Patrick was very on
shout out to Patrick,
because he has a thing with wheels and tires forever on any car. That was the first thing we changed when we actually got Rosie, were the tires and the wheels and the hubcaps. And so he actually noticed on the illustrations, well, right here, it's not the right color. And this one's supposed to be black. And this one's supposed to be, it was just hysterical of all the things that I didn't notice that he did was the bumpers and the hubcaps and the wheel. Oh my gosh,
you want it to be accurate,
so
right? You want it to be very accurate. And it reminds me of cars, you know? I feel like Rosie could integrate or fit into that world.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. There's a name for it when you put a personality into an inanimate object, and I forget what it's called, but my son knows it, and he refers to it all the time, and I can't remember. It's like a real long word. I knew. No.
Yeah. If you were to do it all over again, which it sounds like, you know, second and third book is going to be coming out, what would you do differently now? Like, what have you learned?
I don't know. I might try to self-publish the next round, do it on my own. People do that all the time, like through Amazon or there are other places that you can go and self-publish. But because I had no idea what I was doing, as far as, like I said, the ages and all that stuff. So now that I know a little bit more, I might go that route the next time. It would save a lot of time and money, I think, to do it that route. So we'll see.
Well, and like you said, now you have one under your belt, you have the experience, you know,
exactly.
So you have more confidence in what you're doing and the decisions you make. And I'm sure you still have some connections that maybe you could rely on, like the illustration part,
right.
Things like that, because if you go to a different artist, and again, I guess they now have something to work with, but I'd hate for them to have to go through and you say, oh, I hate it. You know what I mean? Because it's already here. It's beautiful. You know, Rosie's beautiful. So just roll with it. But, you know, well, I guess we'll see what happens with second and third book. Let me ask this. Do you have a timeline of like, okay, the second one's going to come out in 2025 and,
no.
You know, okay. So it's just as it hits you, inspiration hits you.
Yeah.
You'll write them.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, a couple months ago this summer, Rosie had to be towed home. We went a little too far. She did a little too much. And she had to be towed home. And that was a whole experience in itself. But the tow truck driver was super cool. And he was very nice. And I jokingly said to my husband, hey, you know, maybe the next book, you know, Rosie can be, you know, towed, you know, she can find a hero, you know. So he gave me his card and I was like, hey, you know, you might be in, you know, my next book kind of thing. The idea anyway. I said, well, what is your name? And he said, Dewey, like the beach. And I was like, that is a perfect character name. I don't even have to change it.
Yeah.
So I
Dewey.
think.
Wow. A love story, maybe, you know, or at least a helpful hand, you know, from a friend. Wow, Dewey. That is so cool. It sounds like book number 2 is already like halfway written.
I know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
What's taking so long, Jessica? Let's go. Knock it out. No. Again, this just came out, so we're promoting Rosie and Friends, Adventures of a Flower Truck. So now, where can our listeners, you know, purchase the book? How can they get their hands on this? It's a hardcover book, just real quick. On the cover, it's got like a soft, almost like a matte feel. Really, again, high quality, very nice book. So how can they get themselves one?
Right now, it's basically only available on my website, rosieandfriendsbook.com. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out, you know, stores to put it in. I don't have it on Amazon. That's a whole nother issue that I'm kind of dealing with. And some stores won't even put it in their store if it is on Amazon. So I have to weigh those options as well. But, you know, Amazon reaches billions of people. And so, you know, to have someone, you know, in Idaho have my book, you know, versus just only people in central Pennsylvania.
Right. Yeah,
so,
you can reach a much larger audience much more efficiently and much quicker.
I know some people have bought the book to donate. You know, they don't have a kid, but they're like, hey, you know, I want to support you, so let me buy the book and then donate to my public library. And then hopefully, you know, when someone takes it out, they're like, hey, I want it for myself, and all the information, you know, my website and everything is on the back. There are local bookstores, small bookstores around that I'm going to put it in, and some even like gift shops have said that they want it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a great gift, with Christmas coming up,
Yeah.
for nieces, nephews, your kids, grandkids, even, really for anybody. And where can people buy the book?
RosieandFriendsBook.com.
RosieandFriendsBook.com. I'll put that in the show notes on the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. If you go to the show notes, I will put that link there, and then it'll go right to the book.
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect. So now I saw on your Facebook page, you booked your first live TV appearance with Good Day PA. What's that, channel ABC 27?
Yeah.
For November 15th. Are you excited?
No.
What? No. A little nervous, huh?
I am very nervous. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I do this. I think I'm okay.
You're killing it. Yeah, you're doing great.
Yeah. But I do fidget. I'm sitting here fidgeting, and so you can't see me.
That's true, right? The listeners can't.
Right.
They can't see us.
So,
Yeah.
On TV, I'm just concerned about, that. And that's live. Here, if we mess up, you can kind of do things.
I can edit. I do a lot of editing in my spare time. Yeah.
So the idea that, is there, who knows if I fall or, I don't know, burp or something. I don't know. Like, what is there one of those 5-second delays,
Right. I guess that's important to ask when you get there, but don't wear super high heels, right? But be yourself,
Sunday.
You have a great personality, and I feel like from little I've known you, but just from meeting you, and I feel like you carry yourself with confidence, and, you have a great book, just be yourself. And I think people will really take to it. And I mean, look at the community you've grown already.
Right. With
Goldie Links, with Lancaster Balloon Lady. She came all the way from Lancaster, and so many different people. It's a great opportunity. When you have
something that you believe in, it's easy to talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same like with powerlifting. To me, it's very easy to talk about because it's something that I know and I'm passionate about. Same, with the flowers and all that stuff. Now, if you would ask me, to talk about something else that I had no idea or didn't care about, it'd be a little different. So I'm hopefully that takes me a long way on this show.
Yeah, I know I'll be watching. I'll be watching. So, and plus too, there is no growth in our comfort zone. If you think about it,
I know.
You have to be uncomfortable.
I know.
Whether you're talking in front of people at a book launch party or going live to, who knows, hundreds of thousands of people or whatever it may be. I'll be watching for sure. If people like to connect with you, what platforms are best?
So I did start a Facebook page for Rosie and Friends, and that's what it's called, Rosie and Friends. I don't post a whole lot on there, only because I just post so much on my Palmyra Greenhouse page. And then I feel like the same people follow me on both, and they're just seeing it on both. So I'm just kind of feeling out how that, works. I didn't, just like I started the Facebook page for Palmyra Greenhouse before it was a business, it was because I didn't want to bother people that I was friends with.
Right.
And so, I just have to figure out where I'm going to be posting most of it. I mean, you think even if people aren't interested in the book, they're still supportive of it. And so they like to know what I'm doing or like to see the photos and things like that. But yes, you can follow me on Rosie and Friends on Facebook or Palmyra Greenhouse. And I don't have something for Instagram yet for the book. So that's still all under Palmyra Greenhouse.
Sounds good. Jessica Maloy, author of Rosie and Friends, Adventures of a Flower Truck on the American Grown podcast in the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Shout out to Patrick. To see photos of today's guests and more content, just search American Grown Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review.
If you'd like to be a featured guest on the podcast, please direct message or email Austin at americangrownpod@gmail.com.